Since it launched in 2023, the Energon universe has been one of the biggest things in comics, blending the worlds of G.I. Joe and Transformers, consistently delivering action-packed stories filled with heart. And at the center of that universe is Danny Warren Johnson and Jorge Corona's Transformers. And that book is about to get even bigger. Skybound has announced Robert Kirkman and Dan Mora will be taking over the main Transformers book with Transformers 25, proving once again why the Energon universe is able to keep up with the big two. But let's talk about it. Hey Internet, I'm Chris, and this is the place on the internet where I talk about comics, movies, games, and things I'm generally passionate about. If you want to hear more about the Energon universe, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. So when Energon universe launched a couple years ago, it was insane. Kirkman launched it with Void Rivals. Transformers and G.I. Joe had left IDW, which had been publishing their comics for years. There's a little bit of uncertainty, and Robert Kirkman was able to put that to bed with Void Rivals, blending the worlds of G.I. Joe and Transformers together, which led to Transformers by Daniel Warren Johnson and Jorge Corona. And if you're not a Transformers fan, that is the book for you. Warren Johnson and Corona have been able to reinvent the Transformers mythos, all the while delivering a best-selling comic book. That's about to come to an end, because Robert Kirkman himself and Dan Mora from DC fame is going to be taking over the main Transformers book with Transformers number 25. Now, I haven't been reading Transformers since about issue 6, and part of that is Danny Warren Johnson stopped doing the art. Now, Jorge Corona is a great artist, but I'm that type of person where I'm like if I really like the book because of the artist, when that artist leaves, Danny Warren Johnson clearly is still writing the book, I tend to kind of lose interest, and I think most people do. And I think even Robert Kirkman acknowledges that, because every book he's done, most of the artists stay on for an extended periods of time or the entire book. And I think that's why he got Dan Mora to be on this book, because that man is currently on about 30 DC books on a monthly basis. So if there's someone that can stay on a book consistently, it is Dan Mora. Because somehow, some way, he has trapped other versions of himself in this universe so that they could work on monthly comics at the same time. And this is exciting news. I think Robert Kirkman is one of those people like Todd McFarlane, and obviously Skybound is that Image, so that spirit is there, that independent spirit. He just knows how to sell comics and get people excited about comics. And if Daniel Warren Johnson was going to leave that Transformers book, and he is the CEO and founder of Skybound, he knew that really the only person that could get readers excited about Transformers if Daniel Warren Johnson was leaving was Robert Kirkman himself and Dan Mora. And look at that. I'm excited. The whole internet is excited. And now this is a great jumping on point just based on the press release. And I'm probably going to jump back on. Now I have to read a lot of Transformers because I know in terms of Daniel Warren Johnson's storytelling, he goes big, he goes emotional, people are going to die. So there's a lot I've missed since I jumped off the book around issue 6. And knowing Kirkman, he's going to take this book to places we haven't seen in the Transformers and Energon universe. But let's hear him talk about it himself. I've been so invested in this series since the beginning, said Kirkman. When Daniel Warren Johnson's run ended, I couldn't stay on the sidelines. It's an honor to be a part of these characters' legacy. And Dan Mora had some stuff to say as well. Drawing my favorite Autobots and Decepticons takes me right back to my childhood, and I hope to add my own spark to their story. Now, issue 25 and sort of this new run that's going to be Robert Kirkman and Dan Mora is said to have a bunch of new reveals about the Energon universe. I also fell off of G.I. Joe. The reason for that is that the actual miniseries were amazing with like Duke, Destro, Scarlet, Cobra Commander. And then when I read issue 1 of G.I. Joe, it did not hook me. So I know like if you read those minis, there was a lot of reference of like Energon, and the reason it's called the Energon universe in G.I. Joe, a lot of the weapons that they're using are powered by that. And also, in particular, when it comes to Duke, his origin is very much tied to the Transformers, and there's a lot of cool stuff going on in there. And there's also been rumors of a potential animated series set to this Energon universe, which would make sense because we heard that Transformers 1 would sadly not be getting a sequel due to the box office performance, but that movie was amazing. And Robert Kirkman has been known to sort of bring his ideas, particularly his creator-owned stuff, into animation, TV, and now maybe film if we see this Transformers Energon universe become a movie or animated series. I'd imagine it'd become an animated series. It would make sense. There's a lot of cool energy around this series. And then also like toys, like I would love to see, we've seen preview art of this run of what Dan is working on, which is, I don't know how he's finding the time to work on something like this between, Justice League Unlimited. He's working with Grant Morrison later in the year. So there's just so much he's working on, and I've met him. He's a super nice guy. He was even working, like drawing at his booth when I met him. So that man does not take any days off, and he needs to. But seeing his art, I'm like, man, they need to make an Optimus Prime Dan Mora like the same way they should have made it for Daniel Warren Johnson. I'm sure they'll get to it one day, or if they haven't already, if there's customs and stuff. But Robert Kirkman knows how to get people excited, and I think when it comes to comic books, the last few years, it's been good, and I think Energon really sort of like was the start of a shift in the comic book industry. It started this trend of a lot of like 80s and 90s nostalgia in publishing. We've seen like Dynamite do like Thundercats and Space Ghost, and Captain Planet. Mad Cave just got Speed Racer. So you're seeing sort of like this renewed interest from publishers around license. And it's been good. It's been a great thing for the comic book industry to have something outside of Batman and Spider-Man to really boost sales. And Robert Kirkman, who really does not need to write comics to come to a monthly book like Transformers, and Dan Mora, who seems to be living his best life and doing all these characters that he really loves from, he still does like Power Rangers covers from here and there. It seems like anything that people will ask him to do, if he remotely thinks it's cool, he's like, I'm going to do it, which is really cool. But also I don't know how his hands haven't fallen off at this point. But really exciting news around this. I'm excited. I'm kind of like, I want to dive back into the Energon universe, and hopefully this jumping on point will make it easy for me to jump back in, and then also get some of the hardcovers and trades to catch up to see where we're at. Exciting news, and Transformers is going to be insane. And what do you guys think? Are you guys excited for Dan Mora and Robert Kirkman to be on Transformers? Let me know. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace.